Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Techgig webinar series. Our topic for today's session is testing principles through storytelling, and we have with us Mr. Krishna Kishore. He's a freelance trainer and consultant. Krishna has over 12 years of rich experience in managing large-scale technology projects and is a certified project management professional. Comprehensive experience in designing testing proposals, test environment setup, test planning and verification, effort estimation, scripting, execution as well as tracking of the test cases along with the maintenance and review. A keen planner, strategist and implementer with expertise in designing systems, procedures for change management in IT project operations, entailing mapping business processes and studying workflow to design solutions. He's also an effective leader with proven abilities in leading teams during the project phase and guiding team members and enabling knowledge sharing among the team. Some of the key questions which would get covered during today's session are what should be the approach towards automation, what should be the mindset of a tester, what are the responsibilities of a tester, what should be the balance between defect detection and defect prevention, and how do we approach testing activity. Before handing over the session to Krishna, just a quick information about the session today. Krishna will be giving the presentation for the first 45 odd minutes, and we will open up the session for Q&A during the last 15 minutes. And I request all the attendees to start sending in questions from 3:30 p.m. onwards. And in between, if there is any problem in terms of connection and audio quality, please feel free to drop a message to me, and we will try to do the needful. So without any further delay, I now hand over the session to Krishna. Krishna, I am making you the presenter now.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I am able, right? Sri Lanka and others.
Yes. I will keep a tab. Yes, Krishna, you are audible now.
Okay.
At any given point when you are not audible or there is a call drop, I am immediately going to notify you.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. And thanks for that wonderful introduction, Sri Lanka. So, good afternoon, everybody. The purpose of this session is to understand the testing principles through storytelling. So, this is the agenda. We'll have the introduction part, then how storytelling helps in understanding any concept. Then we will go through the testing principles through stories, and finally the Q&A. Now, why testing? Why do we need testing in the software industry? For that matter, anywhere. So, one is, as you know, testing is now spread all across, whether it is banking or telecom or aeronautical space. It's spread all over the place in all the domains, and it is very widely used. That is one reason. And secondly, the software now is being used in mission critical situations. For example, it could be in the military related applications, or it could be in say heart surgery or any such very critical situations. So the option of having a defect and using the application along with that does not become an option. We need to make sure that the functionalities work fine and give the correct result. The other area where we need testing is that today the products are used unpredictably. The simplest of the example is mobile. Today, many of us, I am also included, we use mobile for all other reasons except for calling. So most of the times, especially the Android phones, we use it for any kind of gaming or any other applications that we want to get familiarized with. So more than the call, today we use mobile for other purposes. Hence the usage of the product becomes unpredictable. Hence we need to make sure that the product gets tested well. So we have to reduce and if possible remove all the defects, and as we would all know, the defects in the product will not remain latent for a long time. What I mean by that is, if there is a defect and if we ignore removing the defect will show up at the production. That means in the real-time scenario as early as possible. It will not remain hidden for a long time. So this is the purpose why we need to do testing. We'll go to the next slide. Now the agenda of the presentation is understanding the testing principles through storytelling. Now why storytelling? Why we cannot? Why I could not have come up with a technical presentation itself? So as you know, storytelling is also one part of communication, and all of us have been listening to stories from our childhood. Our parents, our grandparents, all of us were telling us stories, and we learned the wisdom of life through stories itself. So through a research, it is found that our brain and mind will react positively when we listen to something through stories. And through story, we can emphasize and illustrate a point. I can say some concept and I can also then give an example. That's the way anyone would be able to understand it easily. And because it is story, all of us will listen to it very keenly, right? It won't be boring. Even if I tell a story for 1 hour, I'm sure all of you would be listening to that. And finally, storytelling is both entertainment and it serves a purpose. So you listen to a speech for a speech which is like say 1 hour. After first 10-15 minutes you will get bored. But if the same speech is told through a story, your attention will be there all the time, and towards the end of the story you will also learn what was the idea behind which the story was told. So always storytelling is very effective, not only for this presentation, in any form of communication. It is very effective to communicate something through stories. Okay, now the stories that I am going to share today are picked up from the book called Software Testing Principles and Practices. Author is Sri Srinivas Desikan and Gopala Swami Ramesh, and it's the Pearson Education publication. In fact, the complete book is very informative for a tester. So I would suggest that each of you please get that book and read it through. Okay, now let's start with the stories. The first story is the incomplete car. So I will go to, say, my car is Ford Figo. So I go to the Ford dealer and say I will book for a car, and he gives me the date, and I will go on that particular date and ask him whether the car is ready. He will say that, sir, everything is ready, just that painting is not done. You can take it. This is a very, very small story, but it has got a good moral. Sorry. So as all stories have got moral, so what is the moral of this story? We should always meet customer needs. That means we do something and say that we are done with that work, and if that work does not satisfy the customer needs, it is as good as not done. So we have to make sure that during testing, when we do the testing, we meet the customer requirements, what was the business requirement that he had given, and we do the testing keeping that in mind. The simplest way to do that is to have a testing team as your internal customer. Many times it so happens that the product is given for both development and testing for one single organization itself. So in that case, the development team can treat the testing team as an internal customer and do all the communication and collaboration in the same way. How this will help is that you have a first level customer as your test team. So many of the problems which the end client would have got, the testing team would show it to you, and you can sort out those problems internally. That is one. Second is it will help in having a better interaction between the test team and the development team. Many times it so happens that things get delayed, the issues won't get resolved because the collaboration between the test team and the development team is not very good. So by having this internal customer, the test team as the internal customer, it helps in improving the relationship between the test and the development team. Then the testability also improves because you are involving the test team all the time during the project activities. The testers also would be able to come up with scenarios which will cater to the customer needs, customer requirement, and the feedback given by the test team will help in improving the product. We'll go to the next one. So this is the first story. The moral is that always whatever we do in testing, we should keep in mind the end user, the customer requirement in mind, and we should not come up with our own set of activities and say that we completed that and hence the project completes. We'll go to the next one. This is Dijkstra's doctrine. So all of us would have gone through this Dijkstra's algorithm during our, I think high school or college, where the purpose of the algorithm is to make sure that between 2 points, that is from source to destination, you find the shortest path available. So from source to destination, you will have multiple ways to reach. Just to take an example, from Bangalore to Bombay, there are multiple ways, multiple routes, and multiple means by which you can reach Bombay. But we have to make sure that we take the optimized and the best possible route. That is one example that I can think of now. So that is the concept of Dijkstra's algorithm. Now, how does this help in testing activities is that, I will just bring this down this side. Okay, exhaustive testing is not possible. Now, how do we apply Dijkstra's doctrine? Is this way. What does Dijkstra's doctrine say? We have to find out the shortest possible path from A to B. That is to get our to meet our objective. Now, what is the objective of testing? To find more bugs within a very short period of time. That is the purpose of testing. So one thing we have to keep in mind is exhaustive testing is not possible. So for a given scenario, we cannot execute all possible test cases. One example that I can take for this is testing your mobile handset for call processing. So I would want to check if the mobile works fine for local calls for mobile calls and for international calls. I cannot keep calling every number and see that it works fine. I only have to take the subset of the scenarios and see if it all works fine. So that is the purpose of Dijkstra's doctrine also. You will execute only the subset of the test cases to see if it will uncover any defect. And the purpose of testing, why do we need to do testing, is not to say that product works fine. We do testing to uncover maximum number of defects. So when we select the test cases, we have to make sure that the test cases have got a purpose to uncover a defect. And we cannot for sure say that there are no defects possible. We can only showcase the presence of defects. So this is the Dijkstra's doctrine. So the moral of the story is that we should be able to meet our objective of finding more defects within less number of test case executions, and the test cases that we select should be able to cover more defects. And to select the test cases, there are some techniques available: black box testing, white box testing, and in those we again have boundary value analysis, equivalence partition testing. So we can use those scientific methods and come up with the test cases which will help in detecting more bugs in the product. Usually the boundary analysis is a very good technique that to see in the this is a very interesting story actually. The cat and the saint. So what the story says is that a saint was doing meditation in his ashram. It's not Nityananda, by the way. And there used to be a cat which used to go around his meditation seat, and it used to disturb him. So what his disciples did is that they caught the cat and they tied it to a tree so that the saint does not get disturbed. And then it was easy for saint to do his meditation, and it was all going fine. So on a daily basis, just before the saint goes to meditation, his disciples used to tie the cat to a tree, and then saint would start the meditation and continue thereon. This happened for a period of time, and the saint was replaced by one more saint. So were the disciples. We got new disciples, and they followed the same procedure. Just before the saint goes to meditation, the disciples will tie the cat to a tree. Then the saint will start the meditation. Now, on a particular day, it so happened that the disciples could not find the cat, and they were all worried. They were all worried because there is no cat available. They cannot tie the cat to a tree, and because the cat is not tied to a tree, the saint cannot do the meditation. Now, if you have see, the thing here is the purpose, the reason because of which the cat was being tied to the tree was that it was disturbing the saint. That was known to people who were the disciples who were there in the beginning stages. But after that, people did not know why the cat was being tied before the saint was into meditation. So this gave an impression to the new disciples that unless a cat is tied to a tree, the saint cannot start the meditation. Now what do we understand from this? What is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is ask and understand. Whatever you are doing, please ask why it is done, what is the purpose of doing it, how it can be done differently, what was the purpose of following the steps. Also know what is the expected output. Now by tying the cat to the tree, what was expected? Why the cat was being tied? If you go back to the story again. So if the disciples had understood that, then it would have been easy for them to know that the cat being not present is actually the easiest thing for the disciples to help the saint to do the meditation. So same way in testing, find out why a particular test case is there, why those steps are written, why do we need to follow those steps, what is the expected output, and are we getting the expected output? If we are getting any output, is it the way it should have been, etc. Okay? And understand the functionality. This becomes very important, whether you are a developer or you are a tester. Unless you understand the functionality of the product, there is no point in doing the testing, because you would not be able to analyze the output that you would get after the test case execution. Yeah, so the one point that I can say for this is execute tests that do not address what product should do. Means all the requirements would not be given in the document that the client or your customer sends. So please think of the scenarios which mention what the product should not do and test those. More importantly, ask and understand what do you do, why do you do. That becomes very important. So why one test is as important as what to test and how to test. So understand the purpose, then do the testing. We'll go to the next slide. Yeah, so the next story is about ENT specialist. The story goes this way. A lady comes to an ENT specialist saying that she has the ear problem and she can't hear the outside world properly. So the doctor says, okay, we will do one test to see how good, what is the quality. So he will say, I will stand behind you. From various distances, I will ask you to tell me your name, and whenever you are able to listen to my question, you could then tell out your name. So he will maybe say 20 feet behind the lady. As you can see, he is behind the lady in that picture, and he will ask her, tell me your name. He is not able to hear anything. So from 20 feet he will come closer, 10 feet. Again he will say, tell me your name. He still does not get the answer. He will come closer, maybe just 5 feet closer to 5 feet distance closer to the lady, and say, tell me your name. He is still not able to listen to her. He is not able to hear her reply. So he will come to her and says that, what madam, I am asking you so many times, you are not replying at all. I think your ears are totally gone. Then she says, no doctor, I have been shouting my name. I think your ears are not correct. Maybe you'll have to check your ears first. This is the story. Now what is the moral? Moral is test the tests first. Means the test cases that we write to test a product, those test cases itself have to be correct first. If we take the story, if we come back to the story, the doctor himself had hearing problem. Hence, he was not able to listen to the answers given by the lady. So, even during our testing activities, we have to make sure that the test cases that we write are correct and the expected behavior is known. The best way to do it is document the expected output and the actual results, so that you know what is the expected output and you can compare it with it. The other way to do it is also get the expert review. You'll have subject matter experts in your projects, so you could get the test cases reviewed by them just to make sure that things are also fine. Or you can trace out the path yourself, going through the code. Okay, if this is the condition, this is the path taken. Where does it take me to at the end? If I give a different input, which path does it take? So you can trace the path and see that what is the expected output for a given scenario. And all along your project activities, please practice reviews, inspections, and test planning. That means that do it in a structured way. Let it not be a haphazard method of doing the testing project activities. To sum it up in one line, the moral of the story is, don't assume that the test cases will be correct. Make sure that the test cases themselves are correct. That is, test the tests first. So, defective test is more dangerous than a defective product. So, it sums it up. We'll go to the next one, the convoy and the rage. So, typically, if you see the traffic, wherever you would have got a big traffic pileup, surrounding that area also you will have lot of vehicles. There will be a lot of vehicles jam. That becomes like a convoy, one vehicle beyond the behind the other. Now, if you want to apply this to the testing activities, the bugs are also demonstrating the convoy phenomenon. What I mean by that is, if you find a defect in a particular area, the possibilities of more bugs being present surrounding that area is more. So you have to make sure that you test that area bit more in detail with various scenarios, so that you uncover all those defects. And regression testing is one way to make sure that there are no defects introduced because of any enhancements or changes that you do in the code. So whenever there is a defective section, all that you have to do is do more tests around that area to uncover more defects. We'll go to the next one. Yeah, policeman on the bridge. This is a very interesting one. What happens is that in a village you have this bridge which is built across for crossing the river. The bridge is of wooden type. So over a period of time it has lost its stability, and because of the prolonged rain it is very slippery. So when people walk across the bridge, there is always a tendency for them to slip and fall down into the river. So the policemen decided that they will have one police cop under the bridge, and whenever somebody falls down, he will catch them and again put them back onto the road. And this used to happen all the time. And as you know, it is a central government job, and this police got transferred. I mean, in fact, it happens even in the state jobs. So this police person who was under the bridge was transferred, and a new policeman came. Now, this new policeman, before following the instructions given to him, he did an inspection of the bridge to check what was happening. And he found that because the quality of the wood was not good, the slippery was happening because of that. Now, before standing under the bridge to catch the people, he got the bridge rectified. He got all the woods replaced, and now the people were able to cross the bridge without any problem. Hence, even when he stood down under the bridge, there was nobody falling down, and it solved the problem. This is the story. Now, what do we learn from this? Personally, for me, this was a very good point that all the testers need to follow. Tester's responsibility is not only defect detection, but defect prevention also. That means we being testers, our responsibility is not just to find defects and send it to developers. We also have to analyze what is going wrong, why it is going wrong, and then suggest improvements that developers can do in the coding area. That is the important responsibility. Most of the projects I have not seen this happening. Half the time there will be a tug of war between developers and testers regarding the defects. But if the testers can take additional responsibility and analyze the defects and come up with the defect prevention plan, it will help a lot. And the testers are the customer friends. Before the product goes to the customer, the only people who will test it is testers. So whatever they test, they will test it from the customer's perspective. And testers have to find out the root cause and come up with the preventive action. Now, when I am telling this, some of you would have got it out that if I find all the defects and if I give the defect prevention ideas to the development team, then testers will not have anything to test, or the product will not have any more bugs for them to test, and their career will be at a loss. In fact, many a times such doubts come when testers do the testing. But in the actual sense, the testing career is very enriching and beneficial, as is the development career. Once you have found the solution for problems, you will get new opportunities, and you will also enhance your career growth. In interest of time, I will skip this. I will just tell you what is the summary of this. Men in Black is basically to say that the testers should approach the testing activity with the purpose of finding defects. They should have multiple skills about the various technologies and tools used in the product. They should have good analytical skills and defect prevention mindset. And the one thing that they should avoid is not having self-belief. That's not only for testers. In fact, even in life we need to have that. So have self-confidence whenever you take up the testing activities. As I mentioned in the previous slides, understand why a particular test case is written, why is it needed, understand the product more, get more knowledge on that. You should be working with the mindset that once a job is given to you, the project manager or even the customer should not have any second doubts on the capabilities, your capabilities, and the completion of work. Yeah, so this is one important story that we need to understand. The automation syndrome. The story goes like this. There was a farmer, and he had a big field where he was developing, various crops, and he had around 100 men to take care of the paddy fields, and they used to water it every day. And the place from where they get water was like 2-3 miles from the place. So each day all those used to carry buckets or big tumblers, collect water, and by the time they come back, half the water would have spilled down on the ground, and sufficient water was not being put to the paddy fields. Now the farmer was a bit worried, and what he did is, out of the 100 people, he removed 50 people, and he got 50 bikes, two-wheeler, so that people, his servants, can go and collect the water fast. And now it was getting a bit faster. So if you have noticed, it is like an automation, right? People were going manually, walking, collect the water and come back. Now they have got a two-wheeler. It is like automation. Now they took the two-wheeler and they collected the water, and since they did not know how to ride the bike, again water used to fall down on the ground, and again the paddy fields did not have enough water, and the crop were lesser than what it used to be earlier with 100 men. That means the collection, what he used to get when he had 100 men, was more than what he got now with 50 men and 50 bikes. Now this farmer is a very clever person, and he analyzed what is going on, what is wrong. Then he found out that because he could not train his servants on how to use the two-wheeler, because of that he was not getting the result. Next time what he did is, he removed all the servants except one. He only had one person, and he gave him a big tractor, and that tractor had a sufficient space to have 50-60 buckets, and he trained the the servant very well on how to use the tractor, reverse gear, front gear, left, right, everything. And this farmer, this servant now is a master in that. Now when the field was to be watered, he sent this guy to collect water with all the buckets. Now what happened is, the path that leads to the water tank was so small that the tractor could not go at all. So this is the story. So okay, so finally what he thought is, no, this tractor thing is not something useful for me, which means the automation is something which is not very useful to me. Now what is the moral of this story? First one, train the members before expecting them to be productive. How you can use this in automation for testing. That means, if you want your testing team to be productive, you also need to train them on how to use it, and the technical aspects of the tool. That is one. Second is, you don't get the results immediately. If you see the farmer case, he got the two-wheeler and he wanted the results immediately. He wanted all of them to collect the water well and put it to the paddy fields. It cannot happen overnight. And we need to plan it carefully, evaluate, and train. So the farmer first got two-wheeler, but he didn't evaluate the road access to the water tank when he got the tractor. So we have to evaluate various options and see what is the best one to which we can use in our project. And as I told you previously, immediate results will not be possible. And evaluate the various tools available in the market before you select one. It should not be that you select a tool and then adjust your requirement to the tool. It should not be like that. But it should be the tool you select should match your requirements. And you also need to know why and what you want to automate, and have a strategy when you are applying automation. Many a times these points are missed out when automation is planned, and as it happened to the farmer, the project team finally thinks that automation is something which cannot be done. So this is the basic set of stories that I wanted to share with you all. Shilinga, do we have more time? I had 3 more, but that I will take up only if we have time.
We have around 5 minutes, and then we can open up for Q&A.
Okay, fine. Now this is the Q&A, actual Q&A, but I will go to the backup slides. Okay, what does this say is, sorry, 1 second. Oops, sorry. Okay, now testing time is where it says that you have to do the testing activities, the respective testing activities in the respective phases. For example, in the requirement phase, collect all the requirements, come up with the test cases, high-level test cases. In the design phase, find out if there were any incorrect translation of the requirements to design, find out the design defects, and after coding you do the the normal quality control activities, and finally the defect management. So we have to make sure that in each phase we do the right testing in time. Make sure that the activities, the testing activities that we have to do in that particular phase are done, and make sure that errors in one phase don't propagate to the next phase. And cost of defect defect resolution is more as the phases go further. And the best way is to follow processes and best practices. So the moral of the story is catch the defects as early as possible. The pesticide paradox is where the farmer will come up with pesticides to remove the pests that will crop up in the crops. And like the viruses in the software, for the software products, we have to make sure that we come up with new pesticides to remove any new kind of pests that will catch up to the crop. Same way, even for the software products, we cannot settle ourselves having a set of test cases and saying that there are no more defects because all the test cases are passed. We have to make sure that we come up with a new set of test cases all the time and uncover new bugs. The bugs are like pests. Unless you come up with new pesticides, that means unless you come up with new test cases, the presence of those defects will not be known. So you have to keep revising your test cases to handle the new pests. Yeah, this is the last one, I guess. Ends of the pendulum is where I missed the picture. Whether to balance, I mean, how to balance between defect detection and defect prevention. That means, should we give more priority for quality assurance, or do we need to give more priority for quality control? The answer is that we have to use them in balance. Neither of them are required in more quantity, nor they are required in less quantity. See, it's like your kitchen, I mean your food. If you have any of the ingredients in excess, then it will not taste well, right? So same way, even in testing, if you give more focus for processes to follow, assuming that testing may not find out those bugs, then the actual testing will get delayed, and you will not be able to test the product well. On the other hand, if you don't give the sufficient importance for the processes and the procedures to follow, and assume that all the things will be will be handled during the testing activity, even that wouldn't be possible. Maybe, with the time that we will have for testing, we will not be able to discover all the defects. So we have to make sure that we have the right balance of defect detection. That means the reviews and the processes like CMM, Six Sigma, etc., and also right combination of testing activities. So the right balance between these two will help us to have good quality product. Yeah, so this is all I had. I hope the moral of the stories were interesting, and I'm sure each of you will definitely remember at least 3 to 4 of these once you go back home and try to recollect. As opposed to, if I had given 1 hour lecture on what is defect detection, what is defect prevention, your test case should be correct, etc. So through storytelling, it's the best way to communicate with other person, and anything that if you can turn it into a story and then communicate, it will be very effective. Now I open the webinar for questions.
Right. Thank you so much for that presentation, Krishna, and I'm sure it will be a great value addition for all those who are participating in today's webinar. I'm getting a lot of questions, and I have already shared a bunch of them with you. You will find them in the questions window on your control panel.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. On what basis we have to select the tool? I mean, what is the strategy we have to follow? So, sure, basically, as mentioned even during the session, it will all depend on the project and the project needs. For example, if you have got your application as an e-commerce website or any web application, then you can use tools, open source tools like Selenium, etc. Or if it is just a normal application and you just have to run a lot of test cases with different values, then you can use QTP for functional testing, which will help in record and playback. So it will depend on what is the project, what is the application that we are building, and the environment in which it is built. Hope that answers the question. Currently I am not into testing, but I am planning to try jobs in testing. So what kind of suggestions and tools you might suggest for me to have a good career? So ideally, you should be, what I would say personally is, you should be a professional, in the sense you should have done your graduation in the professional course like computer science or electronics, something like that. Having that will help you even during software recession. So people will look out to, organizations will look out to retain employees who are from professional background. It is not to say that unless you are a professional you cannot come into software industry, Please make sure that your fundamentals are correct. Understand about the basics of testing, what kind of tools are used, how the test management happens, how test execution happens, what are the tools we can use for test management, how defect management is done, what is the defect management life cycle, etc. Probably you can connect me offline, I can guide you more on that. Shrikant, hope that answers your question. Devaki Nandan question is, what is the exact difference between test strategy and test plan? Is it quite similar kind of concepts or something different? See, test strategy and test plans are similar. The difference comes in the applicability of the those two documents. Test plan is more for a specific project. That means you will have how do you manage the testing activities for a particular project in test plan, where test strategy is the testing strategy that I would be having to test a particular kind of applications. For example, I have some telecom related projects. So I will have one test strategy on how do I approach the testing for those telecommunication related projects. That forms the test strategy. Now test plan is within those telecommunication projects. For a particular telecommunication project, I implement test plan. So test strategy gives the overall picture or overview of what all kind of testing activities I can do for a given domain for telecom industry, whereas test plan is an instantiation of test strategy. That means for a given project, I will select the test strategies that I have documented and use them in the particular project. Hope that answers the question. We could connect offline if you still have more doubts, Devakinandan. Amit asks, what kind of automation tool can be used for desktop client and mobile application testing? Amit, there are a lot of simulators available these days to test the mobile related applications. Probably just a Google search will help you on that. Next is Shoaib Hamir. Is it possible to do performance testing using Selenium? I don't have complete knowledge on Selenium. However, if I am not wrong, I think we cannot use Selenium for performance testing. Maybe if you just go through Selenium documentation again, that will be clear. Mostly I'm correct what I'm saying. So you have to use either the load runner or search performance tools. Selenium probably you can use for testing the web related applications. Are there any more questions, or does anybody want me to repeat any of the slides? I think in between one or two slides I went a bit fast just to make sure.
Krishna, I have already shared 2 more questions with you.
No, I'm not. Maybe I have to bring the data. 1 second.
One is from Neha Bhardwaj and the other one is from Onkesh Bansal.
Yeah. It's in the top in the chart. Okay, Neha asks, who are responsible to test the test cases after the tester have checked all the test cases and still?
Krishna, if you could read out the question out loud so that everyone can hear.
Yeah, the question is, who are responsible to test cases after testers have checked all the test cases and still critical test cases are found? Who are responsible to test the test cases? See, the responsibility will be with the testers only to do the testing. Now, in case there are any scenarios missed out, then definitely during the review process, during the requirement traceability analysis, those scenarios can be found and testers will test it. So it is still with the test team itself to test the missed scenarios. hope that answers the question. Omkesh asks, my question is that in today's market scenario, does a tester need to have a good aptitude or a good experience or a mixture of both? Why even after say 3 years of experience, the tester still is tested in quantitative aptitude, theoretical knowledge, then is testing ability being questioned? Yeah, it's a good question, Omkesh. In fact, as you have told, it's a combination of all these. Now, everything cannot be taken only on your experience in testing field. See, if you just remember the slide on defect detection and defect prevention, it's not that we always have to just find defects, which is actually the tester's responsibility according to what you have mentioned. He also needs to analyze what is going wrong, why is it going wrong. He needs to do all those analysis. So that's where the aptitude and analytical capabilities of the tester comes into picture, and having those abilities will definitely help. That is one. Second is as you go up the career, once you become test lead, test manager, you will need to have a good skill on all these to whenever you are interacting with the client and whenever you want to suggest improvements. So unless you have a good analytical skills, those things would not be possible to achieve. Hope I have answered the question. There is one more question. Another question is, so by the automation syndrome, do you want to say that over automation can still lead a number of defects in the software? If yes, why is it still being pushed via? Yeah, see, because we are doing testing, we cannot automate all the time. So,
Krishna, please, could you? I'm sorry. Could you please read out the question again once more?
Yeah, Omkesh had one more question where he says, do you want to say that over automation can still lead a number of defects in the software? If yes, then why is it still being pushed via QTP or Selenium, etc.? Now, because we are doing testing, it is not that we have to always automate. In fact, there will be some projects or some products where things have to be done manually. You cannot just go by automation. So if you leave anything for automation, that means if you just take the results of automation and go by that to complete your activities, that might not give the correct end result. We also have to see whether the automation that we have done serves the purpose and check that with the automation, the report that we get are the correct ones, and that is what is expected. So selecting the right tool becomes very important when you take automation into consideration. Just remember the story. Remember the story of the farmer who first had this two-wheeler, then he went to tractor. What all problems he faced. That if you recollect that picture, when you want to think of automation, it will answer all the questions. Okay, there is one more. On what basis we have to select that tool? Okay, this I think I have answered. Yeah. Yeah. Shilanga, I think the listed questions have been answered. Are there any more?
Yes, there are a couple of more questions.
Yeah.
I'm just going to assign them.
Okay. Okay, actually here it is listed in kind of the type of. Okay, fine, I'll check it.
No. Yes, I have assigned two more questions.
Retesting and yeah. So Amit says, what is the difference between retesting and regression testing? See, retesting is you have found a bug, the developer has fixed the bug, and he has notified you. That means he has notified the tester. Now you will do the retesting just to make sure that the defect that was found is not there now. That is retesting. Regression testing is, say for example, you have fixed the bug. or you had implemented a new feature. By fixing the bug or implementing the new feature, you have disturbed the code. That means you have modified the existing software. It can so happen at times that because of the changes that I make in the code for this particular bug fix or the feature enhancement, it will have a side effect on the overall software. It could be, you might not have changed any of the existing functionalities of the modules, but maybe you are setting a variable here incorrectly, because of which some event triggers, and that will cause the application to terminate, etc. It will have those side effects. So regression testing is done just to make sure that the changes that you have done, either to fix a bug or to implement a new feature, does not have any side effect on the already working software. So what you do in regression testing is that you will select the test cases which are already existing. You will not write any new test case here. From the test cases that you have already, you will select those test cases which become important, just to see that the software is working fine, and rerun those test cases to see that the output that you get is the same as what you were getting before. That means there has been no side effect because of the changes that you have done in the software. Hope that answers the question. Amit says, in a SaaS model where we have to release the product every month, most of the time I have test plan to follow, but no time for writing test cases. How to proceed further in this kind of model? See, the best way is follow the agile principles, where you will have minimum documentation. So just have an Excel sheet where you will say test case, what is the expected output, what is the actual output, and defect ID, remarks like that. Just have minimum documentation done, so that you don't spend too much time on that. That would help you. Shiva Sai Ram says, what is more important, manual or automation testing? Does automation testing require technical skills like that of a developer? See, first question, whether it is manual testing or automation testing, again, it depends on the project and the application that you are developing. Based on that, we can come up. But ideal cases, automation is always preferred. It will save a lot of time of the manual testing, and you can concentrate more on other activities also. Now, does automation testing require technical skills? Again, here it will depend on what kind of automation testing you are doing. See, there are many ways you can do automation testing. One is through using the tools like QTP, Selenium, Load Runner, etc. So there you would need to know how to write descriptive procedures, etc. The second way is through scripting languages like Perl, Bash, Sed, Awk, Expect. There also, again, it is like programming. It is more like programming. So you will need to have the programming skills. So depends on what kind of automation testing you are doing, and how you are going about the entire solution. Hope that answers the question. Do we have any more?
We do
have any more? No.
Yeah, we do have a lot of questions, but since we are running out of time, perhaps we could request the attendees to take the questions with you offline. They can also come on techgig.com and post their questions on our discussion forum, where you will be able to come and drop your answer.
Definitely.
So for those whose questions remain unanswered today, apologize for the same, because we have already gone beyond our given time frame. So I would like to quickly thank Krishna for taking time out today and giving this really insightful presentation and taking up as many questions as he could during the given time slot. The recording of today's session will be available on techgig.com by Monday afternoon. So for those who had some audio difficulty or joined the session a little later, I request you all to go and visit our page on techgig.com. And yes, we would love to have more such sessions in near future, Krishna. Thank you once again
Yeah,
for
definitely.
your fair participation.
Thank you so much, and wish you all a very happy weekend too. Thank you, and happy New Year as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Krishna.